Hey everyone, Lesley Myrick here. I am Nancy Ganzakoffer's associate coach and interior designer, and I am here today not with Fernando, as you can probably see from the face next to me, but with Mina Duque from Duque Renders. Welcome, Mina.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So I'm excited to learn more about you and your role. What we're going to be talking about eventually is how renderings can help designers with the construction and remodel process, which is a great topic. Mina, tell us a little bit about your role in the company and how you got here, because from what I know, you are also a designer, and that's part of your involvement in the company.
Yes, I am a designer. I've had my own design firm for several years, starting 2019.
Mhm.
But Duke Renders was actually born helping me with my designs, with my design firm, because renderings was not my forte, and it took a lot of time, and it wasn't even that good. So they started helping me with everything rendering related. Um, And I recently had some babies, so I put my design business on hold for the moment because it's just so demanding, And I'm helping now with Duke Renders. I'm head of client success, so I talk a lot to clients and figure out like what they're doing, how they're using renderings, help them figure out maybe like ways to be more efficient with how to include it in their process, things like that. So it's cool because I still talk to designers all the time, and I love designers.
That's
They're the
awesome.
best.
I find it so interesting that we just got a comment that says, seriously, in my part of the world, we begin with render. So there's some designers that are like, duh, renderings always every minute of every
Yeah,
project. And there's some designers that are like, why would I do a rendering? So
totally. I
yeah,
feel like there's such a range too, and even how many, like some designers use it for every project. Some designers only use it for certain projects, and it's optional. Like right now we're expanding into the Dubai market, and we're working more with real estate developers there, in the U.S. primarily with interior designers.
mhm.
But in Dubai, it's a given. Like there's no, and talking about construction especially because we're talking about larger projects there, there's no way somebody would come out with a project without renderings. And then in fact, not only renderings are just the basic, they also add on things like video animations or starting to use the Oculus glasses for VR and things like that. Whereas in the US, it's there are people that are ahead of the game, let's say, but it's
Yeah.
not everyone.
No, I do think it's one of those things that we're so used to seeing it on, design TV shows and everything. It's like, yeah, okay. But that's also what people are coming to expect designers to create. And I think this is one of those things that is going to push a lot of designers forward into tech in a good way, because I mean, as cheesy as the saying is, a picture is worth 1,000 words. That rendering can communicate so much more than just a blueprint, just an elevation drawing, because we as designers understand those. We can look at those and we can see everything in 3D. A homeowner, a client, they can't necessarily. So I do
Yeah.
think it's great. And I mean, that's incredible to think about doing these large scale, I'm assuming like multifamily, skyscraper type buildings and rendering out model suites. I mean, there's just so much potential for renderings when it
Oh
comes to
yeah. Oh
construction
yeah.
projects.
It's like Fernando says, he says everything is renderable. Everything in the real world is renderable. So
So
just
let's talk about, so what role do you think 3D renderings play when you're in the planning phase of a construction project? Because I think a lot of designers start their renderings or have renderings as part of the like presentation phase. Like, we've made all the selections, here's everything finished, and that is great and should be part of your process. But
Mhm.
where can it come in construction planning? Where are you seeing designers use renderings for that?
So when it comes to the planning phase, I would say that we have a lot of designers who start with us when they're still very early on in the conceptual part of
Mhm.
the design. So maybe they have whether it's like a renovation, a major renovation, or just new construction, and they have the plans, the structure, but they don't, maybe they're still working on all the hard finishes, or you know what I mean, they don't have all the soft finishes chosen yet, the furniture, anything like that. But what we can do is we can start creating that in rendering that side of things so that they can present to their clients, and it's so then they can move it along in their design process. So they can start off by saying, okay, so for example, for a kitchen design, or even for an exterior, whatever it is, they can say, this is kind of the direction, and explain their thinking with where they distribute things, maybe where they put certain cabinets even, or, more structural sort of design. And then once that's approved and sorted out, then they can go on to the soft finishes phase, the more the details, and then we can add those in since we've already created the structure, and then they can present that as well. So it's a helpful tool, because also I think it can cut down significantly presentation time to your client. Like, instead of having to show two-dimensional or explain a lot of different pages or documents that you might have to present to your client, it's just easier to show the image and show the distribution that way, so it can save time too.
Well, I like that you mentioned sort of having two versions of the rendering, because what you provide at Duque Renders that I've used in my own firm is, first you get what you guys call a clay render, which is basically grayscale. It's the room, the volume, the space, the furniture, the cabinets, the everything, but nothing is colored. There's no finishes. It's just all grayscale. And previously I'd just been like, yeah, looks good. Let's go on to the finishes, not thinking that I could be starting the clay render process earlier, use that as a tool during the conceptual design process to say, here's the kitchen layout. Here's how it's going to flow. Here's how the bar stools are going to fit under your island. Here's how many stools we can fit. Here's the pathway around your appliances and your kitchen work triangle. And I love that you can present, like, they're all part of your package. You get the clay renders and of course the final renders, but for construction, you can actually use the clay renders as part of that decision-making, conceptual design, layout process, and get a lot of questions answered very quickly and easily by that grayscale rendering.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, so I told you my design firm, it's in Tulum, Mexico. I actually know more vocabulary related to design in Spanish than in English, but I'm more fluent in English overall. But there's a term, it's like the gray construction. I don't know if that's a term
It's not one I've heard. I'm in gray construction, like the color gray. Okay.
Yeah. Construcción gris. And basically it's like the clays, but in real life. It's like when the structure is up and, when it's all concrete, it's all gray. So nothing's been put in yet, but it's just the structure,
the shell, the structure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's essentially what the clays are. It's like you got a good idea for the shell and the distribution.
That's great.
Yeah.
So then how do you think 3D renderings can contribute to efficiency and accuracy during the construction process? Like, we've talked about the value of those gray renderings, the clay renderings of space and volume. Where does this come in terms of, saving people time and money during construction?
There's so many ways. So there's different, obviously, purposes, for construction. But let's say, for example, and again, this is something that's really common in Dubai. If you're building, or your client is a developer building, and they want to pre-sell, like they want to sell off plan, then these renderings is part of their marketing material, and this is how they can start to get the funds, whether it's like pitching to investors or just pre-selling directly to the buyer. This is how they can oftentimes get the money to even continue with the project. So that's one way that we see it being used. But ultimately, I feel like there's also, like, you can use it instead of staging. So maybe it's even already built, but you can use it to stage virtually versus hiring and paying per month and photography and all of that. So I feel like it just depends how you want to use it, but there's a lot of opportunity to not only save costs, but increase the revenue beforehand, and make it more efficient, so that by the time the place, it's already built, or by the time someone's already purchased, everything is defined and they're happy with it, and there's no showing up and saying, oh, well, this isn't exactly what I was expecting.
Yes, I think that's a big part of it, is that rendering are sometimes perceived as, look at this pretty picture. This is your room. Ta-da! And yes, but there's so much more than that. There's communicating your vision, showing the scale, making sure you like how everything feels, fits, flows. It's really answering questions and alleviating pain points before they happen in real life. So I agree that definitely makes it more efficient. And for the accuracy component, gosh, I mean, having that picture, I mean, it's almost like a photo. They are photorealistic renderings. Having a photo of the room before it's even created, it's like a roadmap. It makes it crystal clear to everybody involved. This is where we're going. Keep your eyes here.
Yeah, totally.
There's the plans, the elevations, the technical drawings that are required for a construction project, but this is where we're going. So it can really help everybody get to the same place and avoid those like, oh, I didn't realize the island was here.
Yeah,
There's so many things that 2D drawings are wonderful and a much needed tool. And the combination with the 3D drawings, the 3D renderings, just makes everything so much clearer. Homeowners, contractors, everybody involved benefits from it.
Exactly. It's like what kind of sometimes the analogy I use is like it's like insurance. You're making sure and you're guaranteeing that your design is 100% what they want, like 100%, not 90%, because we down to like the view that you have from within the space outside, you know, if it's a skyline or just vegetation, whatever, everything is 100% accurate. So it's guaranteeing that not only your client is 100% on board with the direction you're heading and what they're going to receive in the end. I mean, it's like a reveal, but also that your contractors know exactly what they should be doing. There's no confusion, you know? So it does just lead to an overall happier result. And then not only that, but I mean, there's so many benefits. I love it because it's also done so much for my business. And, you know, I talk to clients, so I always hear all these benefits, but, it elevates your status as a designer as well. So if you're working with luxury clients and especially if they're using these renderings for their marketing material, this is, you know, now that people are more familiar with what renderings are and it's becoming a little bit more standard.
Yeah.
But this quality of renders sets you apart because there's all kinds of quality out there, and you can get something that's good enough for presentation purposes, for example. But to have it photorealistic, that's kind of where you set yourself and help set your client apart too.
I agree. And I like that you point that out because you don't have to go with a Duque Renders level rendering if you're just starting out. If your client projects don't support it, if the investment levels don't support it, there are other great options too. If you are really targeting those large construction projects, you know, luxury new construction, big remodels, this was actually something that Nancy came to me. I did not solicit this advice, but I so appreciate that she saw this and brought it up and said, hey, I know where you're taking your design business. You need to up-level your renderings. They're not where your ideal client is going to be. It's like, and I thought my renderings were fine, and they were fine. Like they look fine. Clients love them, but are they photorealistic? Are they jaw-dropping? Are they just beautifully lit and real? No.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up making that leap. And now for all my full service projects, construction, remodels, full service decorating, whatever it is, when we're doing a complete room scope where we're transforming 1, 2, 3, 10 rooms, renderings are a non-negotiable part of my process. And, you know, I've had clients ask before, oh, well, if we take out the renderings, does that lower your design fee? No, because I won't take out the renderings. Like saving time and accuracy and efficiency. I have caught issues on paper, I guess on computer, in renderings before we place an order, before we make a real life mistake. You see something in 3D and you're like, oh, that chandelier doesn't actually look big enough, even though I measured and I thought it would be, or something's missing on this wall that I didn't realize we needed to address. So for me, I won't say like they're part of the process because they get to a better end result without question.
And to that point, like, even though, you know, we work with all kinds of designers and designers who've been in business for years and years and years. And even still, even though we as designers are very good at visualizing, every now and then there's something where you're not 100% sure. And you're like, I would really like to be 100% sure. And the only way you can do that is with photorealistic renderings, because anything else, there's still an element of imagination. So yeah, you want to know for sure before you're trying to get your client to sign off on something that's 100% what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like before you have the client sign off, you need to have 100% confidence, and that rendering can help you have that, which alleviates questions, issues from everybody involved in the process, trades, homeowners, vendors, whoever is involved and has any sort of stake or something, you know, they need to take care of during that design and implementation process.
And I'm just curious, do you include it in your fee, or is it like a separate?
It's baked into my fee. I don't have it as a line item. It's not optional. It's not separated out, because honestly, it's an investment and most clients don't understand.
Oh yeah.
If I just said it's X dollars to do the renderings, they'd be like, I'm good. We'll take it out of there.
Yeah.
My design fee is just Y. And in there, here are the deliverables you're going to get: your floor plan, your mood board, your elevations, your renderings, the material samples. That's our process. That's how we work. We educate our clients from the beginning, and it is what it is. And you know, say I haven't had anybody ask about the renderings or removing them in a few years, because I'm very clear now. This is what we do and how we do it.
You don't make it sound like there's wiggle room there, or it's like any part of your process. Like they don't get to kind of decide your process in any way similar, you know?
Bingo.
And yeah, we have this one client that she was telling us she uses renderings for all of her projects, but she had this one client who she's worked with so many times, and they already have trust and everything like that. He already, you know, loves everything she does. But so she decided, well, for this project, I'm not going to include them because I don't think it's necessary. And long story short, Fernando's told this story a few times, but long story short, something went terribly wrong because she was working with a contractor that the client chose, somebody she wasn't familiar with. And this contractor ended up blaming her for things to the client, upsetting the client. It damaged their relationship. And so she, you know, he was thinking that because of her, XYZ turned out the way that it did. And she said afterwards, man, I just really regret not having included it for that project, because had I included it, it would have been clear what I set out from the beginning versus what ended up happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, even when it's someone that you might have the trust with, it still can be helpful.
Yep, I agree. I don't think it's about trusting the client. It's just about what you have in your head can be challenging to get out of your head and into a way that everybody on the project can understand. Exactly, yeah. And that's where renderings, I find, they're just so successful, is they get what's up here, out here, so everybody can understand the vision for the space, the goal, what it should look like, what the finishes. I mean, it's all spelled out for you right there. I tack the renderings on the walls. I mean, of course, the clients and contractors have been, they've all emailed, but I mean, they're up on the walls because I think it's so helpful just for those quick glances, and truly to motivate homeowners to be like, it's okay. I know everything is torn apart right now.
Get you through the hard times. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a great way that we've also heard of them used in construction, is blowing them up, having them on site. Like everybody can see what direction that tile is supposed to go, you know, where, just all of the pieces that sometimes mistakes happen and can be overlooked. And it's like, it's so much easier.
Where having your hardware's placed.
Exactly.
Little things that we've made all those decisions as a designer, and it is not always easy to communicate that to everybody who needs it in every way that it needs to be.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I think we've done a good job convincing people. But any advice that you have for other designers who are not yet using 3D renderings in their projects and are maybe on the fence about trying it out?
Yeah, I think that, you know, in like nowadays with AI and the way that tech is developing so quickly, and I think people are realizing that you need to start incorporating more technology into your business, or you're going to fall behind, because the people that are incorporating technology are just going to zoom past. And so this is an easy one to incorporate. Not only that's kind of, using technology for your design, for your business, but also something that's easy to outsource. Because I think that sometimes there is a benefit to trying to do something yourself first before you outsource it to understand it. But I don't think that with renders that's necessary, you know?
Yeah.
And I think if you're not sure yet about if it could benefit or how it could benefit, start with one space in a project. Like, for example, what I recommend is, like, if you have a large project or a luxury client and you want to convince them to use renderings, but you still don't even know how to convince them because you haven't used it yet, maybe invest in doing a small space in their house, like a powder room or an entryway or something like that, and show it to them. And just that can be something that you're offering them and saying, hey, look, this is what the rendering of this space can look. Isn't it cool that you can see all the elements? Like, you know, why don't we do this for, you know, at least the major rooms, the major spaces in your house? And I think it's a lot more convincing to try it that way. But I would say definitely try it, because it can have a huge impact. And I would also say give it a chance, because when you're trying something new, it could take 2-3 projects to really get into the swing of how this fits into your process and how you communicate to your clients and how you charge for it and all of that. But it's worth trying, at least.
Yeah. I love too, Mina, that you mentioned outsourcing it, because I think people get hung up with, oh, I don't have time to learn a new software, it's like, no, none of us do. And unless this is something you love doing, this is an easy thing to outsource where your return on investment is so much greater. Well, yeah, it's a great return on your investment. For me to do the level of work that Duque Renders does I don't even know how many hours, and insane. I couldn't get there. Whereas having this outsourced, where I know, hey, they're going to get this beautiful end result, it frees up my time. I've built it into my fee using the Key, the designer's ultimate pricing tool that Nancy and I have available. This is a no-brainer to try out. And I really do highly suggest, if designers are on the fence, try it for a project. Try it for a room in your own home. Like, get used to what this experience looks like. Someone has just commented, I use 3D renderings for every client. Yes. In fact, I'm actually working on one right now while listening to this chat. Someone else has said, I love using 3D renderings to show clients how the room will look. That's it right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, if you don't use it already, try it out. And if you're doing it yourself, I mean, maybe you love doing it, and that's fine, because we all kind of pick and choose the parts of the business that we like to do, because we do a million things. But if it's something that you feel could free up your time by being able to allow you to do something else, outsource it. And I'm not even saying 100% outsource it to us. Like, yes, we would love that. But honestly, like, I think that the designers that we work with, they've reached a certain level in their business where it's justified, you know, because I'm not going to lie, it's a premium service. It's a luxury service, you know? So if you're at the point in your business where it's justified, then great. And if not, maybe you need to get there. But definitely, it's a great thing to include for your clients. Yeah. And if not as a standard, at least as an optional add-on.
Yes, and that's certainly a possibility too. We've been talking about how renderings are not optional for a lot of designers, but they can be too if that's where you are in your business. And it could be an add-on, it could be an upsell, depending on how you structure your packages. Well, Mina, before we go, I want to let everybody watching know that you guys have a special offer for everybody in Nancy's world, which is a really, really good value. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, it's a really sweet offer. So we have, you know, different packages for different level of designers, like depending on how many spaces they commit to. And right now our largest package is 15 plus spaces. And we're giving all of listeners of this live one space if you want to try us out at $9.99, which is the price you would get for a 15 plus space package. And it includes 3 views, 3 close-ups to see more details in your design, a night view, which is really cool to see how the lighting gets layered in the design, and 2 rounds of revision, and can you believe it, a virtual walkthrough, like a 360 spin. So those are really cool.
So it's like a little video you would get showing the space in 360?
It's not a video. It's like you can use on your phone, or a tablet or whatever, and you can just
file you can navigate through.
Yeah, you can look around, up, down, everywhere, 360 of the space. So you get all those goodies for $9.99. Normally that would be $1,500, and that's a way to kind of test it out and see, all the different ways that it can be used.
Yeah, and I will say, if you charge hourly, figure out that price, charge for the appropriate number of hours, include that in your fee. If you're flat fee, build that into your fee. You know those prices up front. But I think that is a great offer to let people try you out and see what it's like to work, what your process is like, your timelines, your communication.
Yeah,
And I am a
exactly.
client, and I have been really, really happy with everything I've gotten from your team and everyone involved with Duque Renders. So if
Thank
you
you.
want to give them a try, go to duquerenders.com. If you book a call, mention the offer from Nancy, and they will get you hooked up with a space at significantly less than if you just went and purchased a one-off rendering.
And last thing I want to add there is, like, again, we work with designers from everywhere, from like first time using renderings to like use it in every project. And I love, if we do have a call, I love sharing tips about how you can get started with it. So, don't hesitate to also ask, like, if you're not sure how to price, how to charge them, how to charge your client, how to incorporate them into your pricing, or whatever it is. Like, we also love giving those kind of like tips as well.
Awesome. Mina, thank you so much. This was great. I loved hearing about more of that construction side of this, and even can't believe I had not thought of utilizing those clay renders. So I'm so glad you shared that. I know that I'm hoping maybe Fernando, I don't know, someone from Duque Renders will be back next month. I think this is a great topic, and I love being able to educate people on the value of technology and renderings and just the amazing things that are out there for designers to help communicate their work. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much, Lesley. It was fun, and thanks everybody for listening.
Bye, everyone.